Greetings, how you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. We've made it to the end of the week. Let's see what we've got in store for us today, starting off with our cosmic weather. Spaceweather.com shows us that solar wind currently is at 325.9 kilometers per second. It's picked up a bit since yesterday. Our planetary K-index is at a 1, expected to be no more than a 2 in the next 24 hours. And our chance for an M-class flares are very low, only about a 10% chance. There was an explosion that took place on the sun. Said a magnetic filament in the sun's northern hemisphere erupted on January 5th at approximately 1300 Universal Time. The beautiful explosion hurled a CME in the general direction of the Earth, but the cloud appears on course to miss our planet, sailing north of the Earth with little or no impact. Alright, so there's what we got going on there. Planets and the stars. Currently, we have the sun sign is in Capricorn, and our moon is in Gemini. So we got Capricorn, the earth sign, Gemini, the air sign. So we're mixing the elements of earth and air together today. And our current moon phase is nearly full. We're at 93% of the way there. So within the next day to two, we're going to be at a completely full moon, so it should be a nice weekend. Nice chance to see the brightness of the moon. Good chance maybe to get out and about and see what's going on with it. Alright, that's our that. And last but not least, our dream spell for today. We start a new wave spell. Remember, a wave spell is a 13-day period of time. We count the numbers 1 through 13. And then when we get to the 13th number, we start over at 1 the next day, which is today. And each one of those next 13 days are called a wave spell. So we're going to be going through a 13-day wave spell starting today. The theme of this wave spell is always based on what is the first symbol or the kin for the very first day of the wave spell. Today is a mirror. Therefore, the whole wave spell that we're in now is themed the mirror. The mirror is about reflection. So basically these next 13 days are about reflection, what we see reflected back at us. Not only is the symbol of the day the mirror, but if you also notice, the guide for today is also the mirror. So we have reflection guided by reflection. So a reflection is you look in the mirror, you see yourself. Do you like what you see? If not, what kind of changes and adjustments do you need to make to that? That's basically the idea. So today's called the white magnetic mirror. The phrase for today is I unify in order to reflect, attracting order. I seal the matrix of endlessness with the magnetic tone of purpose. I am guided by my own power doubled, and it is Friday, January 6th, 2012 on the Gregorian calendar. Alright, there you go. It catches us up to speed with our cosmic weather for today. Now Dirk Bradshaw is with us, and he has a report about the Patriot Act. Dirk, over to you.
Flying high above the planet Earth, this is the Cosmic News with Dirk Bradshaw. I am Dirk Bradshaw. In the wake of September 11th, intelligence agencies pressed for new, powerful laws, including the Patriot Act. But what is it exactly? And why do some people think it has little to do with terrorism? That's what we have for you, boys and girls. You're going to want to stay tuned. You definitely need to know this.
And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. What's up with their lives?
Here are the facts. The September 11th, 2001 attacks on New York City and Washington, D.C. irrevocably changed the course of U.S. history. Like the Japanese attacks on Pearl Harbor 60 years earlier, this catastrophe horrified the American public, and the nation felt besieged by the possibility of further attacks. President Bush's ratings soared to 90%, and his administration worked closely with Congress to pass a flurry of wide-reaching laws. Conspiracy theories spread immediately, and spotty reporting by the 9/11 Commission did little to discourage them. 10 years later, skeptics and conspiracy theorists still debate particulars of the incident. By now, most people are familiar with the popular 9/11 conspiracy theories. The idea that 9/11 was somehow an inside job, or that the government covered up evidence of mistakes. But there's another concern here. What laws did we pass exactly, and how do they affect us today? Here's where it gets crazy. Since it was signed into law in October 2001, the Patriot Act has become a subject of increasing controversy. According to scholars such as Elliot Mintzberg, director for People for the American Way, the Justice Department has used terrorism as a guise to expand law enforcement powers in areas that are totally unrelated to terrorism. It's true that the Patriot Act has been used to investigate non-terroristic crimes. In fact, the intelligence community was waiting for the opportunity to pass this sort of legislation. Far from being custom-made legislation designed as a reaction to 9/11, the Patriot Act is instead an amalgamation of various powers the intelligence community has wanted for years. Yet it seems these expanded powers still fall short of some agencies' desires. In 2005, Dan Egan of the Washington Post published a story exposing several FBI violations of secret surveillance laws, including improperly seizing email and bank records and conducting an unconsented physical search. These findings have caused researchers like David Sobel, the general counsel of the Electronic Privacy Information Center, to speculate that this is simply the tip of the iceberg. What other abuses are out there? Finding the information can be tricky. For example, Title V of the Patriot Act strengthens the power of National Security Letters, or NSLs. An NSL is a formal request for information regarding a person under surveillance. These existed prior to the Patriot Act, but under the new law they were applicable to U.S. citizens and contained gag orders preventing the recipient from informing anyone of the letter. Subsequent legislation has softened these powers, but they still exist. By 2004, nearly 300 U.S. municipalities had passed laws or formally disagreed with the act, urging Congress to modify or repeal this legislation. In the post-9/11 world, the average U.S. citizen has lost numerous legal protections. Supporters of the law argue that this sacrifice has been both necessary and beneficial. Some claim that as many as 15 terrorist attacks have been prevented thanks to the Patriot Act. However, to privacy advocates and other opponents of the act, it has been used more to invade the private lives of citizens than to prevent terrorism. And, currently, no one knows exactly how much or how little privacy is left to the average citizen. Requests for more facts under the Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA, are no safe bet. The FOIA has several exemptions, including national defense. Not only is there something they don't want you to know, but legally, they don't have to tell you. Stay tuned for the next part of our post-9/11 episode, where we explore the history and future of Guantanamo Bay.
Well, I see the fat lady is getting off the stage. She's looking right at me. I've got to take her home and put her to bed. I hate goodbyes, so instead I'm going to say, until we meet again. I'm Dirk Bradshaw from the Cosmic News Network. I return you now to Joshua Poet and First Contact. They're all yours, Josh. This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Let's jump on over here to the UFO news for today. Our first story comes to us from Florida. New Year's Eve 2012, Florida. All right, zip through this one here. All right, what we got going on here is just a couple of objects you can see. You see two kind of apart from each other. There's not a third one, so it doesn't really look like a triangle. Very interesting indeed. Alright. Most interesting indeed. This was over Florida on New Year's Eve. Alright. Our next one. Remember, we've had a lot of sightings on New Year's Eve all around the world. This one here comes to us also at 12:10 a.m. from Canada, BC, Canada. Alright, let's check this out here. We got the single light there. Is that what we're looking for? Alright, let's zip ahead here. Alright, these are kind of hard to see. Yeah, these are kind of hard to see. There are a couple in the screen here. Alright, this link's up online so you can check it out for yourself. This one's a little bit harder to see, but there are a couple in there. And our next story comes to us from the UFO Examiner. This is Roger Marsh. Two triangle UFOs cross low over Connecticut's Route 85. A Connecticut witness traveling eastbound along Road 85 at 8:10 p.m. on January 5th, 2012, reports watching two silent triangle-shaped objects just 100 feet over the treetops cross over the roadway, according to the testimony from the MUFON database. I saw a three-light tipped triangle cross the road over the treetops, the witness stated. I was on the phone with my mother at the time and stated that I saw some weird lights. It was enormous, easily larger than a commercial large passenger aircraft if it was within 100 feet of the treetops. The witness describes the object. There is no visible lights other than the three lights, white exterior lights on each of the three tips of the triangle. You could not see through the object, and the sky was clear. Just a few seconds later, a second identical craft moved over the roadway. It was eastbound in 85. Both passed me going left to right. At the time I saw the second light, I was literally so blown away. I was yelling into the phone. I got off the phone, and by the time I got on my phone, with wide open sky, I could see nothing. As I stated before, the triangles both were enormous and identical. No blinking lights, no sound. As I saw the second triangle, I rolled down my window. If it were commercial aircraft, I would have been so close and so low there would have been no audible noise. It was completely silent outside, save the noise of my vehicle on the road. There are no images or anything, just a story from the witness. Next report, also from the Examiner, is this is Tracy Pierce. UFO fleet sighting in Italy captured in a series of exciting photographs. Alright, something to check out picture-wise. Says a series of photographs posted online Thursday, the 5th. There's a UFO sighting that took place in Viareggio, Italy, recently. The fleet of 6 unidentified flying objects was seen over the beach in front of the Grand Hotel Principe de Piemonte. The spectacular photographs show the glorious facade of the hotel, which first opened to the public in 1922. The UFO fleet shines in the sky overhead. Okay, it says, according to Micro Piccoli 1, the UFO fleet, seem to be moving in traditional gravitational field manner as seen in numerous sightings worldwide. The first few photographs shows a few smears of light against the blackness of the sky. As the picture progressed, the number of visible identified objects seemed to grow. Let's check it out with our own two eyes. Alright. We're already seeing that triangle shape in there. Alright, there we go. You see we have a whole series of shots here. You see the object directly overhead. That's most interesting, all those lights. I'm going to freeze it right there. We got a whole series, so either this is one large object, but they're thinking, and it seemed to be a large fleet. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5 right in that shot there. And they certainly seem to be moving around quite a bit. Obviously that's not how fast, these are just pictures but just showing that they had moved around. And all right, very interesting indeed. UFO fleet over Italy. And this last bit of information is a story that comes to us from the Outlook Bet. It says Buddhists see 2,000 UFO intervention in 2012. Remote viewing is nothing new in Tibetan monasteries. For thousands of years, remote viewing was in the middle of other spiritual activities that dominated Tibetan culture. What some Indian tourists came to learn from a few of the Tibetan monasteries under the current Chinese rule is extremely alarming and fascinating. According to these tourists, remote viewers are seeing world powers in the course of self-destruction. They also see the world will not be destroyed between now and 2012. The world superpowers will continue to engage in regional wars. Terrorism and covert war will be the main problem in the world. Politics, something will happen in around 2010. At that time, the world powers will threaten to destroy each other. Between 2010 and 2012, the whole world will get polarized and prepared for the ultimate doomsday. Heavy political maneuvers and negotiations will take place with little progress. In 2012, the world will start plunging into total destructive nuclear war. And at that time, something remarkable happens, says Buddhist monk of Tibet. Supernatural divine powers will intervene. The destiny of the world is not self-destruct at this time. Scientific interpretation of the monk's statements makes it evident that the extraterrestrial powers are watching us every step of the way. They will intervene in 2012 and save the world from self-destruction. When asked about recent UFO sightings in India and China, the monk smiled and said the divine powers are watching us all. Mankind cannot and will not be allowed to alter the future to that great extent. Every human being, through their current acts of life called karma, can alter the future lives to some extent, but changing the destiny in the large extent will not be allowed to that great an extent. Monks also mentioned that beyond 2012, our current civilization would understand that the final frontier of science and technology is the area of spirituality and not material physics and chemistry. Beyond 2012, our technology will take a different direction. People will learn the essence of spirituality, the relation between body and soul, the reincarnation, and the fact that we are connected with each other, all part of God. In India and China, UFO sightings have increased in many-fold. Many say Chinese and Indian governments are being contacted by the extraterrestrials. In recent days, most UFO activities have been seen in these countries by those who indigenously developed new capabilities. When asked if these extraterrestrials will show up in reality in 2012, the answers remote viewers are giving is they will reveal themselves in such a way that none of us will be scared. They will reveal themselves only if they have to. As our science and technology progresses, we are destined to see them and interact with them anyway. According to remote viewers, our Earth is blessed and is being saved continuously from all kinds of hazards, all the time that we are not even aware of. As our technology progresses, we will realize how external forces saved us. So there you go. That's a good story that there are those out there, as I tell you, looking out for us down here on planet Earth. Alright, there you go. I'm going to jump away to a song. I'll be back. I got a bunch of news and information. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
All right, continuing along here. Our first story, or our next story, shall I say, has to do with the Iowa count. Now, here we have one story about possible voter fraud in Iowa. So let me show you this story here first, and then we can talk about what this means. They're going to address it a bit in the video anyway. So here we go.
The official count shows Mitt Romney won the Iowa caucuses by 8 votes.
But what if that count is wrong? The Iowa Republican Party is still in the process of certifying the results, but one Southern Iowa vote counter says when they do, they're going to discover that Rick Santorum may have actually ended up winning the Iowa caucuses. We asked our Amanda Lewis to look into it. Amanda?
Edward True says he helped count the votes at his caucus on Tuesday night. He even jotted the totals down to add to his Facebook page. But when he checked his totals against what the Republican Party was reporting, he says the total number of votes for Romney somehow went from 2 to 22.
Caucus night was chaotic in many places, with hundreds of voters, candidates showing up, and the throngs of media who followed. The world's eyes were on Iowa. But in Appanoose County, in Moulton, at the Garrett Memorial Library, a caucus of 50 people may just blow up the results.
When Mitt Romney won Iowa by 8 votes, and I've got a 20-vote discrepancy here, that right there says Rick Santorum won Iowa, not Mitt Romney.
28-year-old Edward True helped count the votes and jotted the results down on this piece of paper to post on his Facebook page later. His notes say Mitt Romney received 2 votes, but according to the Iowa Republican Party's website, True's precinct cast 22 votes for Romney.
This is huge. This essentially changes who won.
A spokeswoman for the Iowa Republican Party says True is not a precinct captain and he's not a county chair, so he has no business talking about election results. She also said they wouldn't offer any interviews on possible discrepancies until the vote is certified.
KCCI political analyst Dennis Goldford says even if the caucus results are wrong, it's not the end of the world.
This will make Iowa look a little foolish in the eyes of the rest of the country, which already questions the seriousness of the caucuses. But in terms of Santorum's results here, the caucuses have made him a player in presidential politics. And if he should nudge ahead of Governor Romney for the final certified results, that's not going to make really any significant difference at this point.
True, who says he's a Ron Paul supporter, hopes it was a simple mistake.
I imagine it's a good possibility somebody, instead of hitting 2, might have hit 22 by accident.
But he says he won't stop talking about it until the state, by his count, gets the numbers right.
I personally witnessed being counted and assisted in counting and am certain are right.
True said there was one other mistake. The Iowa GOP reports there are a total of 79 votes cast at his caucus, but only 53 people attended that night, he said. He said 20 of the non-existent votes went to Romney, but he has no idea where they counted an additional 6.
So True contacted Iowa Republican officials about this?
He said he did, and they knew who he was when I called, but they declined to comment.
Not going to say anything about it.
Not until the votes are certified.
And we'll wait for that for about a week and a half or so, right?
Yeah.
Amanda, thank you.
All right, so you can see something a little bit fishy going on there in Iowa. Now, if that was one incident right there, do you think there are maybe other incidents that might have taken place? It's a good possibility, especially when you saw the system they had. It wasn't like they had a sophisticated system where they were filling out an actual ballot. They were writing down on a piece of paper. Very, very old school style. And then they went and they took those papers and in some places they counted them elsewhere. And the place where they finally tallied it up was in Illinois. That's not Iowa, right? Isn't Illinois a corrupt state? Don't they have a lot of corruption going on there? And that's where they went to count the ballots for their state of Iowa. That seems to doesn't seem really to fit that Iowa's going to have a vote and then count their votes in Illinois. Kind of weird. Kind of weird. All right, next up here we have, this is Ron Paul. And we talk a little bit about Ron Paul in this show if you didn't already know. All right. So here we go. This is, can Ron Paul win New Hampshire is the question being asked right here on this video.
Judge, thank you. Congressman Paul launched this new campaign in Exeter, New Hampshire, so he knows firsthand what independent-minded free staters want to hear in Saturday's big New Hampshire Republican primary debate. We turn now to New Hampshire State Senator and former Air Force pilot Jim Forsyth, who chairs Ron Paul's New Hampshire campaign. He joins us now from Manchester. Senator Forsyth, it's a pleasure. Welcome to Freedom Watch.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you for having me on.
How does Ron Paul take 22% in Iowa and turn that into 40+% in New Hampshire with just the 5 or 6 days remaining?
Well, I think, first off, he doesn't have to turn that into 40% to have a campaign, because, like you said, he's got a great national campaign. He's got to do well here. And we're poised to do that. We've got quite a number of volunteers that are making calls, quite a number of people knocking on doors. He's been here consistently throughout the campaign, spreading his message. So we've laid the groundwork, and we're going to do everything we can to have him do as well as possible here.
All right. Correct me if I'm wrong. Independents who are neither registered as Republicans nor Democrats can show up at the polls next Tuesday in New Hampshire, declare themselves to be Republicans, and vote for whomever they want. And you also have a group of people up there called the Free Staters, people who have this idea that maybe New Hampshire will secede from the Union, or some people will secede from New Hampshire. Can all of those people vote for Ron Paul along with regular old-fashioned registered Republicans?
Right. Any independent, any Republican can vote for him. Democrats would have had to change the registration, and that actually has happened. There have been some people that were very disappointed in Obama. They didn't get the change they thought they were going to get in foreign policy, and so they're supporting Dr. Paul.
You are not only a state senator, you are a professor in aerospace engineering, and you're a former fighter pilot in the Air Force. Question, Senator. How does... Go ahead. Did I say something wrong?
Yeah, I wasn't a fighter pilot. I was a refueling aircraft commander, KC-135s.
Okay. Congratulations on that work, Senator. How does the military feel about Ron Paul? Stated differently, are you surprised that more contributions come from active duty military to Ron Paul than all the other Republican candidates combined?
I'm not surprised. In fact, I was together with a number of volunteers last night, and I had a gentleman come up who's here making phone calls, shake my hand, and thank me for my service. And he was in the military, and he said, you know, all his friends were really excited about Dr. Paul. You know, when I was in the service, I served overseas, and Dr. Paul understands what a lot of people don't. There's a big distinction between military spending and defense spending, and he's someone who understands that. And that spending money overseas makes us weaker economically. It also does nothing to strengthen our defense, whereas having our troops here at home does that. We've been closing bases in the United States and opening them up overseas. That makes no sense from a defense standpoint.
How would Ron Paul defend America, Senator?
Like I said, if we pull some of our troops back, or most of our troops back from overseas, back to the United States, that would be a much stronger defense. And, you know, I think the biggest threat we're facing right now is to our economy. And the cuts he's proposed in the military are not going to weaken our defense. We'd still be spending 4 times as much money as China, the next biggest military power. But it would do a lot to strengthen the economy. It would send a strong message that we're serious about the deficit, we're getting it under control, and I think we'd see you know, a return to prosperity if we do that.
New Hampshire State Senator Jim Forsyth. Senator, it's a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
The revolution continues.
Very good. So, good news about there, good news about Ron. We're going to see how he continues to do in the polls. All right, I'm going to continue on. I got one more story. This was Phil Donahue, and he's talking about Ron Paul and his foreign policy. This was a good one as well. Something to check out and listen to. So here we go. All right, here we go.
But the bottom line is, I don't want to make people's lives better by giving them somebody else's money. I want to give them the opportunity to go out and earn the money and provide for themselves and their families.
That's Rick Santorum's tongue-tied moment on New Year's Day. Back with me now, man who has some strong views on politics, Phil Donahue. What do you make of the Rick Santorum surge?
One of many. He's, I saw him commenting on the Straits of Hormuz. He's got both guns out. He's already angry. You can see it. They better not block around. And you can hear the drums in the background. And the heartbeat accelerates. He wants to go after Iran. I mean, how many wars do you want to have in your lifetime? How many bombs are you going to drop? I just think it looks like we've become a warrior nation. We bombed Grenada. Grenada. We are dropping bombs on crowded cities at night where old people and children are sleeping. And we're watching it on CNN. And the only voice that's spoken up at all in this campaign about this is Ron Paul. Why are we so interventionist, he wants to know? What are we doing with all these wars? How are we safer? These are very common sense observations, and no other candidate can possibly speak those words. It would be, they believe, politically fatal. Now think about that. You can't use an anti-war platform to get elected. So maybe that explains why it's so easy for us to go to war. Norman Solomon has written a book which is War Made Easy, and essentially he says, if a president of the United States wants a war, he can have one. And I believe that totally. It's very, very hard to dissent. Think about what's against the person who wants to say, wait a minute, are you sure? These are, Newt Gingrich said Ron Paul's positions are dangerous. So it's fear. We have to be tough. And we're killing our young adult children because of this.
What I've noticed about Americans and America when it comes to this kind of thing is that anybody that dares speak up against a war instantly gets labeled, bracketed, a pacifist, a coward, weak. And it's not really like that in many other countries. It's the kind of thing that mystifies me, because you don't have to be a pacifist to disagree with, say, the Iraq War.
Yes.
At all. I mean, it's not pacifism. It's pacifism if you say no war is ever acceptable. If you say Winston Churchill had no right, Neville Chamberlain had no right to have a war with Adolf Hitler, then that is pacifism to me at its weakest. It is a weak position. Of course you have to stand up to a dictator like that. But when it comes to issues like Iraq, incredibly important that the world's #1 military power, #1 political power, #1 economic power has a proper debate about whether they should go into these things without people being labeled a pacifist if they don't think it's a good idea.
You know, that's just one of the pushbacks. And by the way, I'm not brave enough to be a pacifist. I am, like millions of other Americans, very, very concerned about our foreign policy behavior over the past several years. And the way that the bedrock of this nation has been chipped away by the people who, democracy, and they're turning their back on the Bill of Rights. We have people in cages with no habeas, no phone calls, no Red Cross.
Guantanamo, you mean?
Yeah. You know, this is not the country that my parents raised me to pledge my allegiance to. You know, you can't say you're a proud American and then waterboard somebody. You can't say you're a proud American and assassinate an American citizen in another country. Those are mutually exclusive ideas.
See, Ron Paul, I mean, I interviewed him yesterday. It's interesting you say this, because his big thing, and I think it's an impressive thing to say, is he supports the Constitution.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
And for that, people call him crazy. And I'm like, watching this from the sidelines. I don't have a horse in the race. I'm British.
Isn't that amazing?
And I'm like, here's a guy who basically repeatedly says, I support the Constitution. And he's the one everyone calls cranky.
Mm-hmm. Yes, everything is turned upside down here. So Ron Paul's concern about our adventurism is, in Newt Gingrich's word, dangerous. Peace is dangerous. And the people who call for it are marginalized. We don't get it. We don't understand. Liberals are always scolding. I've had more than one person say, if a liberal complains about something, they will respond by saying, that's the trouble with you liberals. You don't like anything about America. So if you criticize America, it means you don't like anything. That's how they just push back.
Playing devil's advocate, though, Phil, I mean, isn't it also true that the right wing, the Republicans who espouse traditional social conservatism, they also get the same kind of caricaturing, don't they, by the left? I mean, it does work both ways.
Yes, it does. I agree.
All right, very good interview, don't you think? A lot of good information. It is strange that we live in this country and we do have such a war-minded attitude coming from our administration, because I know the people that I spend time around with aren't warring individuals, and I would bet that the people you spend time around with aren't warring individuals. So why are those in office that are supposedly representing this country, why are they warring? Because that's not what we really think about. We want to have peace. We want to have good relations. We want to have communication, not dropping bombs, because we certainly wouldn't like if somebody did it to us. So why are we doing it to somebody else? You know, it just doesn't make sense sometime. And to hear that there's a candidate who's talking about peace and he's being, criticized for his stance because he wants there to be peace, well, didn't Jesus come to talk about peace as well? And didn't Buddha talk about peace? And Muhammad and Gandhi? I mean, weren't all the spiritual leaders of this world and the teachers, didn't they talk about peace? But most of the time they've been ignored. And we're at no different. We really haven't learned, have we? We still have those who are talking about peace, and we still have those in power that are creating wars. We need to turn it around. But perhaps this is that time. Perhaps this is what 2012 is all about, turning it around. Now, in Ohio, there was an earthquake that took place. It was a 4.0. It was on New Year's Eve. And goes on to say, this article comes to us from the Intel Hub. It says, with modern technology and old Tesla innovation, creating man-made earthquakes is a challenge, but nothing new. Many tectonic weapons exist today that are being deployed regularly. However, in the search for oil and natural gas, corporations will go to any extent and endanger residents to profiteer, as we saw with the 2009 BP oil spill. Well, the magnitude 4.0 New Year's Eve earthquake that took place in Ohio was not natural and has now been openly admitted that it was man-made. Could this be a cover for something else? The official state report says it was caused from oil and gas explosion. Here's an excerpt from the Chicago Tribune. Ohio's Department of Natural Resources on Sunday suspended operations at 5 deep well sites in Youngstown, Ohio, where the injection of water was taking place, while they evaluate seismological data from the rare quake in the area. The wells are about 9,000 feet deep and are used to dispose of water from oil and gas wells. The process is related to fracking, the controversial injection of chemically laced water and sand into rock to release oil and gas. Critics say that high-pressure injection of the liquid causes seismic activity. The depth of the quake was only 2 meters, which shows different characteristics from a natural quake. So is that a good thing, that if we are causing quakes to happen? What do you think? Or is that all right? In the sake of looking for oil, should we be destroying the very land that we live on? That seems kind of counterproductive, don't you think? Yeah, I can't really understand how that would work, but apparently there are some that think that would be a good idea. All right, this next story here comes to us from RT, and this is having to do with Operation Wall Street, or Occupy Wall Street. Now, many folks think that it is over because the mainstream's not reporting it, but as you hear, we continue to report what's going on, and this is the latest. Here we go.
Well, to dig deeper into this, I want to bring in Occupy Wall Street activist Goldie. He joins us from our New York studio. Hi, Goldie.
Hello, Liz.
No last name, huh? Just Goldie.
Just Goldie. It's things are changing in New York City. It's turning into Damascus here, so just have to protect ourselves.
Damascus, that is pretty extreme. You're equating what's going on in New York City with what's going on in Syria. How do you make that comparison?
Well, you know, it's not quite there yet, but 2012 should prove to be an interesting year with the elections, and it's just getting, you know, with the NDAA being passed, and they're starting to target specific people. I mean, the Global Rev case is a perfect example of that, and it's a little unsettling.
Now, what exactly happened with the Global Revolution TV? Why was it taken down?
I mean, this isn't the first time this kind of stuff has happened. They're starting to get, I'm not going to say smarter, but they're starting to target people, and they're not arresting people randomly. Global Rev is broadcasting what we're doing, unedited and usually live. So it's just inconceivable that they would just blatantly attack their offices like this. And I think it's completely unacceptable. It's supposed to be the land of the free, but this is why they're trying to shut down our information source, because the media doesn't really cover it, except for you guys. Thank you very much. But the media doesn't really give us justice or proper coverage.
So you think that the police targeted Global Revolution TV and they wanted to take it down?
Yeah, they're targeting certain activists by their name, not by their actions. I mean, we're getting arrested in ways that are not based on our actual actions at the time. They're based on our names. So it's getting a little crazy out there.
What justification did they give you for evicting you?
I mean, it sounds like I'm not a part of the Global Rev team. I'm a part of some other working groups, Direct Action and others. But the NYPD and Mayor Bloomberg's office makes up whatever they want. Apparently, it was unsafe to inhabit this space. They put up a notice. Whatever they want to put up, they put up. I'm sure we're going to have lawyers working on this, but right now they're still evicted. It's the same things that go on during our arrests. They make up the laws, and then we find out later that it was illegal. And that's how the NYPD has been operating. And if you ask an officer, why are you arresting me? They may not know the reason why. They're not legal experts. They just do what Bloomberg tells them to do.
So you're not buying whatever justification they are giving you for your arrests or for these evictions and these arrests that you've seen?
No, of course not. Since day one, they've been bending the laws. Get on the sidewalk. You can't be in the streets. Get off the sidewalk. You can't be on the sidewalk. It's just, you know, they'll arrest you for absolutely anything they feel like arresting you for.
Now, do you think
it doesn't make much sense?
Do you think that the police this is an attempt for police to silence the movement? And would you go as far to say, I mean, if they're trying to take down a media site, that this could be called censorship?
Yes, I mean, you know, when we got evicted on November 17th, on November 15th, there was a media blackout area. There was no media allowed and no people allowed, and the trains weren't running. I mean, it was like it turned into Baghdad down there. It's the same things we do overseas. We're slowly starting to move those actions, those policies, the way they work overseas. They're going to start doing that here, and that's why we're seeing these sort of targeted arrests and targets. Targeting people. It's definitely turned from a protest into more of a war, it seems like, the tactics they're using at least.
And Goldie, I want to talk to you specifically about this media outlet, Global Revolution TV, and where they fit into the media world. What were viewers getting when they were turning into this media outlet versus what they were getting in the mainstream media?
Well, they were getting, in the very beginning, in day one, they were getting the only news outlet we had. We weren't being covered. For 7 days, we had zero coverage, no matter how much we yelled and screamed that, hey, we're occupying a park. It's very unique in America. Come see this. And no one came to see us, except Vlad was running around with his laptop and streaming that stuff live, and it got more people involved in the movement when they found out it was happening. So that was our only voice in the beginning. And now it's our only true voice still, because we have to deal with stuff like, the New York Post and New York Daily News, New York Times. It's always, they're always printing whatever they want to print, which is usually propaganda in America. I mean, we think we have great news outlets, but we don't. So it's never a very clear picture. But when you turn on a live stream, that's live. There's no commentary. You're just seeing what's happening live. And that's the beautiful thing about it. It's basically the truth of what we're up to and what we're doing.
Okay, lastly, very quickly, just want to ask you, when we're seeing crackdowns like this, targeting specific people, as you say, specific media outlets, how it affects the movement, and at this point, where it is heading.
I mean, it's just going to make us a little bit more angry, and it's going to make us adapt. The movement exists because of the NYPD. Every time they try to do something they think is smart, we end up growing stronger. So I'm sure we'll just grow stronger from this. Global Rev will figure out how to do stuff without any laptops or any headquarters. I mean, we'll just adapt, and that's we're not going anywhere.
Goldie, great talking to you. Thank you for coming on the show. That was Occupy Wall Street activist Goldie.
All right, very good. So if you thought Occupy Wall Street was dead and gone, now you know otherwise. It's still out there, and the police are still acting as the guard dogs for Big Brother. All right, now this next story, and this is our last one before we close things out. This has to do with your privacy on the internet. We have a privacy watchdog is pressing court on NSA-Google partnership. The privacy watchdog group Epic has urged the Court of Appeals to disclose more information regarding the widely publicized close working relationship between the National Security Agency and Google. Epic, short for Electronic Privacy Information Center, has filed an opening brief challenging the NSA's response to the group's Freedom of Information Act request for details on the cybersecurity agreement that the search engine giant shares with the spy agency. The story hit headlines a year ago in January 2010 following a highly sophisticated and targeted cyber attack on the corporate infrastructure of Google and some 20 other U.S. companies. The attack was blamed on the Chinese government, prompting Google to embrace a collaboration with the federal agency in charge of global electronic surveillance. Anonymous sources informed the Washington Post at that time that the alliance is being designed to allow two organizations to share critical information, adding that the agreement will not allow the NSA access to user search details or emails. Nevertheless, news of a burgeoning partnership between Google and the government spy force responsible for warrantless monitoring of Americans' phone calls and emails in the wake of 9/11 raised significant privacy concerns. After Epic made an initial Freedom of Information Act request, the NSA claimed it could neither confirm nor deny the existence of any information about its relations with Google because such a response would reveal information about NSA's functions and activities. In its opening brief, the privacy group argues that records that the NSA holds on the subject are not exempt from the public disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act. Communications from Google to the NSA do not implicate the agency's functions and activities and are therefore not exempt from disclosure, the brief states. Further, some records responsive to Epic's Freedom of Information request concern NSA activities that may fall outside the scope of the agency's authorities. These records are not exempt from disclosure. It continues. There's more to the article. You can find it. As you can see, this is a very important issue. When you go on the internet and you use Google, as most folks do, you don't want to have your information transferred to somebody else. You don't want to know that the NSA has your information available in their databases. That's not right. But that seems to be what we're hearing more and more of these kind of things. And they seem to be kind of sneaky about it. Being sneaky implies that they have something to hide, that they don't want the American people to know. Well, being sneaky is only going to get them in trouble with the American people, because American people don't like sneakiness. For that matter, people around the world don't like the sneakiness either. So, being sneaky, it's not going to win any favors with anybody. All it's going to do is get a lot of people upset, and we're just going to simply find a way to eliminate the agencies that are being so sneaky. All right, let's close things out now with a prayer and a meditation for today. Here we go. Close your eyes. And relax. All right. Imagine you're walking that path. We've made it to the end of the first week of 2012. And we are still here. And a lot has gone on already this year. A lot of activity behind the scenes. And we walk the path and we walk and we get to the end of our weekly journey and we stop. And there is a pool. Nice relaxing whirlpool. So you get in and you sit and you relax. And you allow all the challenges of the week just to drift off of your body. And you feel the soothing effect of the water. And as you allow all of these challenges, these tensions, these fears, these doubts leave your body, you feel stronger. And you get up out of the pool, out of the whirlpool, and you stand there in a field, and the wind's blowing on you, and you feel the sun shining, it's drying you off, and you realize that everything you need is available to you at any time, and that the things we need are often different than the things that we want. And the more that we know the difference, the more we're able to create and manifest. For the things we need are the gifts of spirit and the ability to use those gifts, the ability to use energy and understand how it works in subtle ways in our lives. The ways to understand the movements of the planets and the stars. To understand how spirit moves through our lives. These spiritual, esoteric, metaphysical bits of information help us to move along, and we realize this is more important than the physical that we strive for, because by understanding the spiritual, we are really able to create what we desire, what is in our heart. So imagine all of our chakras are activated, starting with the chakra at the bottom of the spine. Imagine the color red. And let the energy raise up higher to the second chakra. Imagine the color orange right at the belly button. This is the chakra that deals with our emotional body. Raise the energy up higher to the next chakra, which is just below the rib cage in the solar plexus area. This is the chakra that deals with our intellectual body. And then as we raise the energy up higher to the heart, right in the middle of the heart, this is the center where we love. And the color there is green. Raise the energy up higher to the throat. Imagine the color blue. This is our communication center, our communication chakra. Raise the energy up higher, right between the two eyebrows. Imagine the color violet. This is the chakra that allows us to see past the 3D world into the dimensions of space and time. And then finally to the crown chakra. Imagine the color indigo. This is where all the energy enters. And the energy continues up into the cosmos. And there you are, fully energized in your connections to the earth and the cosmos. Let's imagine sending out love from our heart chakras all around the planet. Send it around to everyone, to friends, family, and even to enemies. Because even they need love. Top of the prayer list with them. Because with the prayers and the love, those enemies can change. Because they are just misguided. They are just misguided, and by sending love, it will help put them back on the track. Now let's wish a good thought for everybody in the world. Let's wish everybody a great weekend. Our first weekend coming up here in 2012. And with that, let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. And that is it. Another show, another prayer meditation, and we made it through the first week of 2012. So good for us. We're on our way. 51 more weeks to go. And we're on into the next year already. We got some time. I think we'll enjoy this ride before we get too far ahead of ourselves, right? That's it. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday with more news information. Be safe. Peace. I'm out of here.